As manager of Chelsea Football Club, I've called this press conference to announce that we want you, the fans at home and abroad, to support someone else.
You know, something about that intro just really hits, right?
It is so good. So good.
Yo, people, welcome back to the YouTube channel. You already know what time it is. It's time for another episode of All You Can Eat Chelsea. Big up everybody inside the building. My brother Younes, welcome back. How are you doing, sir? How are you doing today?
Hello, my friend. Hello, lads. That intro bangs every time now because it just hits home. When you see Frank Lampard tell you to go support someone else, I think 99% are like, yeah, I want to. No, as we discussed, bro, away from football, I'm great. It's only when I remember that Chelsea are playing and I have to watch them, I get depressed. So, yeah. Now we're depressed.
Miz, brother, talk to me. How are you feeling today, bro? How are you doing?
Much like all the other days, man. Every time the game is on and we pick up an L, you feel very, very depressed. You feel very sad. And then you move on with life. You realize there are finer things in life that you need to hold on to very dearly in these testing times. And, you hope that next season it all turns around for us. It has to. It just has to.
I think yesterday there's actually moments I can pinpoint this season where my blood is boiling on a temperature that is just not healthy, unsafe circumstances for myself, and I can pinpoint the games: the Southampton game at home, the Arsenal game at home, this game away, and there's probably a few more as well. When you look at that first half, you think, do you know what? We're losing, and, it's not a surprise, but at least you could say that we're creating chances. We are playing fairly decent, and this is just typical, normal Chelsea. But the way that we capitulated in the second half, and Fofana in particular for some of these goals, it made me sick. You know when you get that moment, that feeling at the bottom of your stomach? Just pure, I just felt enraged. I just wanted to genuinely start fighting. I wanted a punch up at full time in the change room. It's the only way. It's the only solution. There is no talking about this. Yeah, Royal Rumble, 100%. There's no talking about this. Funnily enough, from that game, I can now, on reflection, find a couple of positives. And I mean a couple. And I'm talking about the performances of Lewis Hall and Carney and Enzo Fernandez, because these guys, they are kind of a symbolic kind of representation of what Lampard should have been doing maybe from the get-go, which is giving opportunities to players like this. When you see Lewis Hall creating more chances than Cucurella, statistics like this, you see, even though Cucurella has been playing left side centre-back a lot of the time in a 3, when you see Lewis Hall stepping up at 18 years old at Old Trafford and putting in a decent performance, you see Carney off the ball, we know our midfield was a mess, but Carney on the ball looked assured, he looked confident. And Enzo, again, as usual, can on the ball ooze with class. It does give you hope for the future. But Younes, talk to me about your initial kind of feelings at full time. Like, because I was gonna say things that I shouldn't say on YouTube, man. These men had me next level angry. So angry.
Bro, after we went 4-0 down, and actually it started to turn from this is just typical Chelsea to I'm gonna start flipping, was when Fofana got twisted and nutmegged, and then he brought Bruno down, and once that happened and we conceded that penalty, and then it was 3-0. That was the shift. Well, after we went to 4-0, I started to get on the same vibe as you. Like, we've already come to the point where, and I said this in my preview, that we're at a point where these games don't matter. Yeah. We just want to learn from them, and it's easy to say that.
You know what? Game. We are learning.
Bro, and then when it happens and you don't expect the scoreline to be that heavy, I predicted 2-0. I didn't expect 4. And then that happens, you just get angry. So after we went 4-0 down, yeah, man, it just flipped. The subs were the same situation again. We ended up seeing like Fofana coming on after we were 4-0 down. I'm like, why? But players that are getting twisted. The only positives, as I've said, was Lewis Hall, Carney, Enzo as well. That's it. You know, and one of the things that we did learn was Carney and what he managed to produce over those 82 minutes, which is what not just we need to know, but Poch needs to see. Poch needs to know before he comes in. This is the whole point of these games now, right? But when you get battered so heavy, and then you hear Frank Lampard talk after the game, and he has a lot of blame, but I have to say, he did pinpoint a few things where it gives you some sort of insight into the squad and what's actually going down. And I know he's trying to veer away from the tactical side, which I think is wrong. Because regardless of how bad you are, even in terms of the players, you can come up with some sort of a system and you can still see it. And if they're not executing, they're not executing it. But I'm sorry, like, he tends to use that as like a cover, I think. But the points that he does make, I think, do apply. This squad is in tatters. And one thing that concerned me, when Enzo was having his little bust up, and it's funny, I saw no one comes over, man.
Besides Kepa. Kepa's the only one.
I think Kepa was the one that had the initial problem, and Enzo came in for Kepa. And then when Enzo was getting hounded by 5 or 6 United lads, regardless if you think your teammate's in the wrong, you're seeing from a distance, you think, oh, no, he's blown it. Or what the hell are you doing? Still, he's getting hounded by 6. You go and help him, man. You're a teammate. Sort it out in the dressing room after and be like, yo, what were you doing? But on the pitch, help him. In front of all those cameras, help him. Bro.
Younes, we don't have a Rudiger anymore. You see what Rudiger did with Vinicius the other day. Exactly. He went in. We don't have that kind of character that's going to go in and help out Enzo. Do you know what I mean?
It's not a team.
This is the thing. It's not a team. And when you look at what Frank said after the game, in terms of even as a collective, he made it seem like there's people just not pulling their weight at all. You know? And I can tend to believe that. There are players here that you can just see genuinely do not care. That's just the truth. And when it comes to that level, you expect maybe players to not care to a certain level in terms of the way that they're playing. But in terms of the basics, as a teammate, you know, just as we're on the same team, I'm going to back you, you're going to back me, right? Forget the football. If that's not even there, mate, we're screwed. We're screwed.
Yeah.
You know, get rid of him. It's a joke. It's a joke. Poch has a lot of work, man. A lot of work to do. I feel for him.
Not only does he need to coach the team, because the team are not coached in terms of the level required for the Premier League. The team are probably the worst coach team in the league, maybe the bottom 3 worst coach team in the league, right? In terms of tactics, in terms of details, in terms of fitness, in terms of everything that you need for your team before they enter that pitch in terms of knowledge. This team don't have that. So now we're going off based off individual brilliance and ability. And that's where players like Enzo come in, where they can play those passes. It's tough for me, Miz, to watch Enzo Fernandez play football and then in the same phase of play, watch Conor Gallagher play football. It's very difficult for me. I am struggling with it a lot because it's almost like pick a side. You either want to play in that manner, which kind of forces you to be a counter-attacking team that press and, you know, attack space, or you want to be a possession-based team with skill on the ball and you want to take control of games and you want to show creativity and quality. For me, to see them both on the same pitch, I feel sorry for Enzo Fernandez. And listen, in a time where players aren't committed, I think a lot of people are gravitating to the fact that Conor Gallagher is very committed, but you can't be picking and choosing. It's not commitment or quality. It needs to be both. If you don't have one or the other, then you are on the chopping board. And unfortunately, he has all the commitment, all of the care, but he doesn't have any of the control, any of the quality. And I'm tired of saying it. And I'm tired of seeing it. This guy is not Chelsea level. It's as simple as that. What did you make of, like, what were your weak points in this team when you're looking at this team? Obviously, Fofana wanted to have bozo moments in the second half, but just genuinely when you was watching the game, like, who were your weak points? For me, he was one of them. I got a couple of others as well.
Let's talk about that midfield. You're honestly now talking like the way I've been talking for so long about the midfield. You know, I don't want to bring any names or anything like that. People are going to start feeling very, uncomfortable about if I bring out other names. All I'm going to say is that it's what you said, Matisse. You have a player like Enzo, who's so comfortable with the ball, in tight spaces, in pressure moments. And then you have a total opposite of someone like Conor Gallagher, who at this slightest moment of pressure loses the ball. This is why our profiling for next season, and I've always said it, I don't necessarily need us to play possession-based football to be, a supreme team. There are many styles of playing football and you can get results out of, but I need Chelsea Football Club to decide on a particular manner. All right? Conor Gallagher is not what we are trying to do in our game at the moment is somewhat have possession, build up from the back. He's just not that guy. There's a reason why he...
Carney and Lewis Hall, technically, I can see already way higher ceilings than him. Way higher ceilings. And it's like, how can we watch Carney and Lewis Hall, who have been drip-fed minutes this season, look at them immediately and say, yeah, there's potential there. In terms of technically, there's something to work with. There's something to coach. There's something to improve. I can't say that with Conor. I can't.
There's a reason why Conor Gallagher succeeded last season. And I have to be honest as well, I fell for it. I really thought maybe there's a spot for him this season under Thomas Tuchel when Thomas Tuchel was still around, manager. But I completely get it now because Crystal Palace were a counter-attacking team. They didn't have too much of the ball. And whenever they did, it was just quick. Like, let's bomb the ball forward and create chaos immediately. And Conor thrives in that situation where you don't need to think too much, where you don't have the ball too much. And when you do, you've got to be explosive and just go out there 100 kilometers an hour. This is why he runs around. So, yeah, like we have to decide. And I've said it so many times recently that Conor Gallagher is just not Chelsea level. So many fans just come after me saying, oh, you're so negative towards Conor, this, that, that. We need to be ruthless, man. As fans, we have to be ruthless. As Matisse said, I feel so sad for Enzo Fernandez. He left. He's a World Cup champion, man. This guy's a World Cup winner. And he's picking up L's after L's after L's after L's every single match week. This don't do good for his confidence when he goes and plays for Argentina, or, even just generally when he just goes away from football. It don't do any good for him. And you can see it. He's getting angry every match. He's getting upset with players. He's trying to instruct them where they need to be positionally when he has the ball. He's the only one who steps up in that Kepa situation to protect his teammate. And everyone else is just oblivious to the situation. And I think this is the issue. This is the issue, isn't it? This is the issue. Everyone's just oblivious.
Yeah. In a dysfunctional team, he's playing very well, and he has been for weeks. You can see it when you watch him. You can see it statistically. He's the player that has to play as a 6, even though he's not a 6, to start build-up play because no one else can do it. He's the player that has to play the final pass because nobody else can do it. Like, he is literally the midfield, and everybody else is just in there just to supplement and help. But again, this comment here, I couldn't disagree with more in terms of if you're going to play Gallagher, you play him deeper. He's not press resistant, and he can't receive the ball.
He gets dispossessed even up the pitch.
He'll get dispossessed.
He can't listen. This guy can't trap a football consistently, and this guy cannot receive the ball in tight spaces. So I'm not playing him in the position you're talking about, because when we try and build out from the back, and if we come under any sort of press, he's going to turn over the ball like this. Turn it over. Now, you're not going to see that at West Brom, and you're not going to see that at Palace because they're not ball-dominant teams. They don't play out from the back. They don't have the possession. So they're playing counter-attack most of the time. So they're giving away possession naturally, sitting deep, winning the ball. He'll press, win it, trigger a press, and then he'll have space to run into. Up against low blocks, and I've said it time and time again, the majority of the fixtures, the majority of the games that we come up against are low blocks on a tight Stamford Bridge pitch. It's no surprise that when we go to the Santiago Bernabeu or we go to Manchester United at Old Trafford in the first half, we have a little bit more space, it feels like, and we play a little bit better. But when we go to Stamford Bridge, bread and butter, the pitch is a lot tighter, and we need technicians. I'm not even going to play around with this point anymore. We need technicians. We need players that are good on the ball. You can work hard like a Bernardo Silva off the ball and be a technician at the same time. I'm not giving up work rate and saying, oh, because you got the work rate, I'll allow you on the technical side. You need to have both.
Oh,
if you don't have both, you need to leave. Conor Gallagher needs to be sold immediately. I don't care if Mason Mount's staying. I don't care if people want to keep a little bit of the Cobham fabric. You can keep it with others. There's Carney there as a young player. Lewis Hall, Cobham, Reece James. You got Levi Colwill, which you're going to get to in a minute. But I'm not keeping Gallagher next season. It's not happening for me. If it's my decision, I'm selling him to Newcastle or Palace immediately. This guy is not good enough. He's 23 years old. We've got better players that are 3-4 years younger than him that I'd rather give Poch the time to develop. This guy he can't be saved at this level. It's not happening. So for me, he needs to move.
Now some people will say, oh, but he's young. Can we coach him? Can Poch coach him? This is where we have to be ruthless. It's a gamble to take. I don't know, boys. Can he be coached to have that technical ability that we desire in midfield?
If we're talking about a player of that age, right? If we're looking at Carney, does Carney need to be coached in that aspect? No, it doesn't seem like it. So no, cut Gallagher off, because you either have it or you don't. Do you know what I mean? When it comes to those sort of fundamentals, you got it or you don't. And I don't believe that you can be coached to the point where all of a sudden something like being able to trap the ball and protect it, or being able to be technical enough to use your brain to know what to do in a situation. I don't think that can be coached, especially in a short period of time.
Yeah.
If that's going to be coached, that's
going to
take flipping. Yeah, you either have it or you don't, because that's something that comes from academy football when you're growing up. Correct. That's something that's it's already bred in you. So
the final pass, whenever he receives the ball in the 10, his final ball is just absolutely fucking horrendous. It's absolutely, it's ridiculous that I'm watching this guy final ball at this level. It's just not good enough. And we don't have time to coach him. I'm sorry. We're not a daycare. People want to talk about daycares. We're not a daycare in that aspect. There's young players that are coming through that have more technical ability. I kid you not, Charlie Webster, who we're letting go on a free, I think, or whatever fee it's going to be. It's going to be very low. I don't know if his contract's running out completely, but Charlie Webster has more technical ability than Conor Gallagher, but we're letting him go. And it's not even, it's not even close. You either have it or you don't. It's as simple as that. He does not have it. He does not have it. He needs to be moved on, and any excuses to keep him is just, for me, a demonstration of where we are as a club. People will say to me, oh, in the recent weeks, he's been our best player. Look where we are. We're 12th. He's been the best player for a mid-table team. I'm not hearing it.
Matisse,
when the levels are high where they should be, and the quality of the football that we should be playing is up here, Conor Gallagher will not be player of the year. I promise you very much. I promise you he will not be player of the year when this club is playing at the level it should be. It's as simple as that.
What are these managers seeing Gallagher? Because Potter was using Gallagher as well. Time in, time out. He was. What are they seeing in these players? I don't get it, because they want to play a certain brand of football, and we can see that they're incapable of doing that. What is it? Is it purely just based off training? Is it just like they train well?
Yeah. I think it's the fact that we don't have we don't have a holding midfielder. Yesterday we were split open time and time again through that midfield, through the wide areas, because of course Aspie is on his last legs, right? So we were getting carved open. We made Sancho look like Ronaldinho, even though he's had an awful season, right? So to kind of negate the fact that in the middle of the park we don't have a true holding midfielder who can break up play, they're playing the Gallaghers because he can get around the pitch. We don't have Kante, who helps us in terms of covering space and winning the ball back. So they're thinking, and I'm not going crazy that they're thinking this. They're thinking Gallagher can cover space, he can cut passing lanes, he can press, and he can get about and cover the gaps where we're going to leave, because we don't have the holding midfielder, and we haven't had the holding midfielder for a very, very long time. So it's not a crazy logic to follow, but when we're on the ball, this guy is a liability in the team. Simple. And even when you look at the duels yesterday, he barely won the ball back for us at all. He's not a great tackler. I wouldn't say that he's a brilliant tackler. I'm not going to lie. I've seen him commit many a foul. He's very clumsy.
That's it. Yeah.
He's not
when
a great
the pressure
tackler.
is on.
Yeah,
especially when the pressure is on.
So love and guidance. Everybody has a dream. Do you know what I mean? And I respect that. But mental health is very important for me as well. I'm not going to lie, and I can't be watching this next season. So
you're right. You're right, man. and he's definitely got to be one of the guys to go. You know what I think it is? Those points that you made, Matisse, are as far as I'm concerned, they're factual, especially when you have certain players that are out. But I do think, and I want to say this, I do think that there's, not for the reasons that I think people are going to hear this and think, oh, like, no. There is an English reason as to why. But it's not because, I'm not going to say because Gallagher is English. That's not it. I think the English mentality in football, with the coaches, with probably Lampard, even Southgate, that is it. Especially when things are not going so well for you, with many players, you resort to, it's an English thing, you resort to, all right, who works the hardest? Who's putting in the effort, right? Who's running the most mileage? That's the ultimate go-to. Whereas I think other countries or other coaches from other places will probably look even more technical. As to their fundamental will be, okay, look, give this guy a football and let's see what you can do. Yeah, show me what you can do on the ball. Like, they'll probably go more in that direction in terms of what can they actually bring on a basic fundamental technically. The English way is more physical. It's more, all right, how much are you putting in? Gallagher runs like a flipping horse, right? Let's put that right. I said
2 horsepower.
For real. For real. People operating on 0.0 horsepower. He's operating on 2. He runs like a Bugatti. No, but I honestly think that is definitely something that's saving his skin. And if we had players that were putting in the same with the technical ability, like we should have at Chelsea, one was Frank Lampard in his heyday when he was playing. That was a clear example. Then Gallagher wouldn't get anywhere near this team. No chance. So
it's mad.
And I'll be back in 5, by the way. 5 minutes.
I'll
be back 5 minutes.
All good. In relation to other performances, Miz, I mean, I think we all said in our reviews, listen, Azpilicueta is done. I think the fact that his contract runs out in 2024 concerns me because I don't know who's going to come in for him, but he does need to leave. He has to go. And it kind of infuriates me a little bit for Aspi that we're kind of squeezing the sponge and abusing him. I feel like we are the ones to blame because he did want to go to Barcelona. And we kind of kept him, you know, and here we are now kind of rinsing him and watching him get cooked by players that have been mediocre at best this season. And it's clearly the game's up for him. And when you lack pace like him in this league, which is a fast-paced league, even he knew himself he needed to go. He wanted to go because he knew he needed to go because he knew that when he came in for Reece James, he had no chance of dealing with these wingers. No chance.
He's panting after 15, 20 minutes. Like, he's literally, got his tongue out and he's like panting heavily. Look, I don't even want to bash Aspi. That's our fault. Like, I don't even want to have a go at him. What I want to talk about is the other flaws that you're saying is Wesley Fofana is a huge one for me, where there's been matches this season where he's played well, but there's been a lot of matches where he's been so poor. And it makes me think, brother, you've got to screw your head on properly for next season. You really do. You're a little bit too lackadaisical. Do you know what I mean? Whatever that word is, I tried to say.
Lackadaisical. He is. He needs to focus. Because the errors that he's making, bro, it's nothing to do about ability. The errors he's making is pure complacency and head loss, and not staying focused and within, like, he's not aware of his surroundings. He's not thinking about the game. He's clear. His head is elsewhere.
He's not in the game, Matisse. He's not in the game.
Yeah, he's not in the game. Now, I think for me, with Fofana, my main thing is just he needs to stay fit next season and a good coach and a change of environment in terms of what's around him. Because I do think what we are as a club in terms of what we've been is polarizing and kind of toxic. We have dragged a lot of these new players down to our level, I think. A lot of these new players that are very good players, some of them have survived, like Enzo, but it's very difficult to survive under these conditions, which I'm seeing people give Enzo captain shouts. I don't know if his English is really that good, but he does have leadership qualities. And it's the only thing I agree with that Lampard is saying in recent press conferences and interviews is that this Enzo Fernandez is the real deal. He's the real deal. And this is why I was going crazy about wanting him in January and taking him off the market completely, even for an inflated fee. Because, kid you not, this player could play for Manchester City, could play for Real Madrid, could play for the best teams. He's that good. And the fact that he's playing like this in the team, this crap, just speaks absolute volumes. Because I don't blame the new players that came in January that are struggling. I'm annoyed with Mudryk for not taking his chance, but I'm not going to judge him this season. You know, there's times Madueke doesn't play a strong enough pass. I don't like it, but I'm not going to judge him this season. And the same applies to all of those new young players that came in January. So for me, when you throw them into us, and Fofana's, he's young, but he does have Premier League experience. He is a very good player, but I think it's all complacency in that second half, and that's what made me so angry. Is you're still doing a job here. Do you know what I mean? Please concentrate. You're at Old Trafford. You're not at some small time stadium playing against some small time team. Like, wake up. We're playing Manchester United at Old Trafford. I know the game is pretty much a dead rubber, but even being at that stadium with those supporters around you, you should have some sort of concentration about you in the way that you apply yourself. You shouldn't really be switching off at a stadium like that.
And this is the bigger conversation, isn't it? I'm not doubting his ability. And I'm pretty sure, Matisse, you're not doubting Wesley Fofana's ability. I think we've seen he's got very, very high quality in him. It's the conversation around the mindset, and it seems like this is the case for many other players as well. And this is something that needs to be corrected next season, where you cannot have games where you're not there. Your performance against Man United at Old Trafford seemed like there were certain times you were not there. You drifted away somewhere else. You really drifted away somewhere else. And there's been few moments this season where it's been like that. Earlier on, if you remember, Matisse, the Zagreb match, he had a mistake in that match as well, between himself and Koulibaly, that goal that was And then there was many other matches where there were very, very strange sort of decisions that he's made. I think he's picked up a red card as well, didn't he? Not that long ago, middle of the season. So, look, Wesley Fofana, along with many other players, Poch, next season we cannot have a game. Okay, you may have maybe 1 or 2 minutes here and there, but not an entire game where you're overwhelmed. I don't even know if it's overwhelmed. You're just not there. Mentally, you're just not strong enough. You're not tight enough to know that this is a big occasion. I better concentrate. Do you know what I mean? And this is something we need massively, Matisse, man.
This comment from Kip is extremely inaccurate. I know that, yes, I've had my banter with Arsenal this season, but I have a rule of thumb. I don't call anybody a flop in their first season, especially not their first half of a season. So, no, I wouldn't be calling them a flop at Arsenal. If you remember correctly, I didn't even call Grealish a flop after his first season, and he cost 100 million as well at Man City because I said you need to give him more time. I don't even think I've even called Sancho a flop, but Sancho is now getting to the point where you have to kind of say that he's flopped because he's been there long enough. But no, I wouldn't be saying he's a flop after a couple of months at Arsenal, especially under these circumstances where, yes, listen, he should be taking that chance, but he's now been managed under 2 different managers. He's not really been kept. He was brought into the team earlier on, then he was taken out of the team. Now he's put back in the team, and the team is unstable and everybody's playing like crap. So listen, you can say he's not getting away with this in your world. Well, he is getting away with this because he's going to be here next season. So there's no consequences for him playing poorly right now because I need to see him under a proper manager with a real system and real coaching. I'm not going to judge him under the worst manager in the league at all. It's just not going to happen. So for him, I think the biggest problem I have with him right now is his shooting. He's had some big opportunities that he's not taken. I don't really understand why, because when you look at his ball striking technique at Shakhtar and in training, it doesn't seem to be too shoddy. So I don't really understand where the lack of finishing comes from, unless it's just confidence. I don't know. But there are moments in the game in that first half where he's doing his little 1-2s and he is trying to carry the ball and progress it and whatnot. There is something there. But like I said in January, I don't know this kid. I don't know this kid. All I know of this kid is that he was twerking for Arsenal on Instagram. He wanted to go to Arsenal. Arsenal wanted him. And he played for Shakhtar, had a couple of good games in the Champions League. And here he is. His goal scoring record wasn't crazy at Shakhtar. So I'm not expecting crazy amount of goals right now. But he does need to next season kick it up a notch because he did cost a lot of money. And he does need to be starting left wing next season. You know, he needs to be given that level of kind of responsibility and importance because that's how much we've kind of placed on him. It's not fair that we paid that price because you know, I don't think that's the fair price that he's valued. I don't think it's fair valuation, because I haven't seen a lot, and I think that kind of price for that kind of player is crazy. But that is the price. That's the price we paid.
I feel like Matisse, we bought him out of impulse. Like, I don't think any Chelsea fans.
But that's what I was going crazy about in my reaction stream. I
don't
was like,
think
why
anyone
did we buy this guy?
I don't think anyone expected that it was going to be Mudryk. Like, no one was expecting Mudryk to come through. We were all so focused on Enzo Fernandez, maybe even Joao Felix at that time for the loan deal and whatnot. No one really expected Mudryk. Look, once again, I'm not having a go. I've said this recently as well, that I think we just need to be very patient with Mudryk, very, very patient. But at the same time, you know, those level of finishing, like, I kid you not, that ball from Lewis Hall.
Oh,
like you cannot get it any more easier than that.
He should have the last 2 games, bro. I think he should have about 4 assists. His crossing's been really, really good.
Easily 4. That was such a lovely ball on the plate. Literally, you know, all you can eat Chelsea, right? Like the plate full of food, everything cut up. You don't even need to touch the, you know, utensils. Like, someone's actually picking up the fork, taking the food and putting it right in front of your mouth. All you got to do is just eat.
Mm-hmm.
That's all. You don't need to prepare. You don't need to do nothing. And that's where I'm a little bit concerned that Mudryk, you got to pick up, because that for me is just bread and butter. Like, you cannot be missing.
There's absolutely no excuse, regardless of circumstances, of missing that chance. You got to take that chance. That's the basics.
And this is where I revert to his off-field shenanigans. And I've seen your videos on Matisse. And look, a few people have said, "Oh, Ms. Matisse thinks otherwise." You thought very, very harshly. Look, and I've said it too. People have different principles in different stages in life, right? I had different principles when I was a lot younger. I've grown up and I've got different principles now. I look at life differently, right? For me, when your headspace is away from football, in the gym, where you're picking up the phone and you're videoing bum cracks and then posting it on your Instagram story where you have 1.4 million followers, brother, you need to fix your head first a little bit, because that will then sort out hopefully some things in game. When you see all of these activities outside of football, people like me and many others will start thinking, now I get why you miss your bread and butter, because you're thinking about videoing bum cracks. Do you know what I mean? Like, you got to like, no, look.
The reason why I didn't come down on him for that particular incident is because I need 2 questions kind of answered on the context of it, because it was just a clip, and it was a clip that went from his story straight to Twitter and done the rounds, but I don't know the circumstances of the situation. So first of all, I think it's important. Does he know that person? Does he know those people in the gym? Like, is he friends with them? Because is he in a public gym or is he in a private gym? Is he gymming with people that he knows and he's just taking the piss out of them? Or is it a public gym and he's videoing people that don't know him and it's not consensual, etc.? But
Matisse, say you and me, right? We're mates, right? We know each other. You take a video of my bum crack showing. Would you be posting that on your Instagram?
I wouldn't.
Why wouldn't you?
Because it's weird.
So why doesn't that apply for this guy?
No. I'm not saying what he did is not weird. It's definitely strange behavior to post bum crack. However, if he knows the bum crack, if he knows whose bum crack it is, like this is for me very important, because
if he knows whose bum
the Joey video
I've just come into bum crack
convo, right? The Joey video comes crashing in, and listen, let me make it very clear on Joey, right? He does care about gym etiquette, but he's also very clever in what he's doing. He knows that video is going to do the rounds. He's going to gain followers. He's making money from this situation he is inflating his profile based on cussing people out for their gym etiquette, right? And this is not this is not like a massive thing to be talking about, right? It's not that deep, especially this particular situation. Now, if the person's face was in it, I think I'd be even more, coming to the fore about it. But the question is, Younes, as well, does he know the person? because there's no context. There's no questions being asked here. Does he know who he's filming? If he's friends with these people that he's gymming with, and it's a private gym, it's not a public one, and he knows these guys, yes, it's an immature post, but I'm not surprised that he may be immature. The spotlight is now on him for the first time at Shakhtar on a weekly basis. Nobody cares about really what Shakhtar are doing in the global stage week to week. Maybe Champions League nights, and that's about it, right? So it is a learning curve. And with the right leadership around you and whatnot, yes, you're going to stop making these mistakes, we'd assume, and you're going to be a bit more mature, etc. But I don't think it's a situation where I'm taking a 5-second clip from Instagram and definitely now putting that to football and saying, right, this is why he's missing chances. This is why he's not playing well. I think why he's not playing well is because the level of coaching is absolutely just dire and relegation level coaching. And also because of maybe a lack of confidence, which could just be naturally coming from the fact that we're shit.
Before Younes has a go, just on that point, like I completely get what you're saying, Matisse. And once again, I think the best way to examine these situations is applying your real life situation, right? And that's how I try and connect with these things. I'll tell you straight up, and I'd love to hear what Younes has to say about this. Whenever I am lacking at work, or whenever I'm a little bit iffy in certain areas of my work, it's because my mind is somewhere else. It's because my focus is somewhere else. It's because I'm more interested in doing stuff here. I don't know, right? I feel all of these things, as much as you're saying, Matisse, that should not correlate to him missing his bread and butter. Makes sense. But I think there's a bigger perspective here where the mindset of a particular individual is, because all of this contributes to your life's gains. That's just my thought.
The only thing for me is that when we follow players, I think we naturally think that 24/7 they have to be thinking about football because we're following football accounts. They are sports people, right? Sports persons. That's what they're named under. So when we see their social medias, if it's not football related and we're not playing well, we immediately will kind of pick up on the fact that they're not concentrating. When I saw Drinkwater on stories every single day playing stupid little games and, I knew that Drinkwater, I could tell he'd gone on the piss out the night before. I could tell that Drinkwater mentally was not with us. But Mudryk, for me, like I said, I don't feel like because he might not be thinking about football in that moment or he might be pissing around in that moment, which again, I'm not defending it because it is mature and it is silly and it is weird behavior, but it's not as deep as I think it's been made out to be. But Younes, what's your think on it?
No, the thing is, if anyone's putting a correlation as to Mudryk misses the chance, like for example, what he missed yesterday, right? Because of what he's put on Instagram, like, nah, that doesn't make any sense, right? What the issue is, as Miz is saying, his mentality, his maturity, right? In terms of where is he actually here as a professional, not in terms of his performances and whatnot, because that's separate. That's on the pitch. That has nothing to do with his social media. So if anyone's actually making that correlation, it's pointless. Apples and pears. You can't be comparing the two. But how he carries himself and what he decides to do, what he thinks is actually okay, right? As a 21-year-old, yeah, it's young.
This is a great point.
This is true,
and we'll talk about it.
And he's the best Premier League centre back, one of the best this season.
No, this is true. This is the thing.
I'll talk about that as well. I'll talk about that.
This is why these things need to get pinpointed, because when you get a player, especially, and he has no control over this, but for a certain fee, right, will come certain responsibility, comes certain guidance, like we've been talking about. And does he need that guidance? Absolutely. But for him in his head, right, even at 21. Because people look at and say, 21 years old, he's a kid. He's not a kid. 21 years old, you should already have a level of what's right and wrong, right?
22.
You're in a gym, 22. If you should in a gym, I genuinely don't think he knew the guy. But if he did, I think he probably would have said something. He put a question mark over, over bum crack. There was no reason for that to be up on socials. There's just no reason for that to be up whatsoever. I have more of an issue with that than with Levi Colwill's thing yesterday, and I'll explain that.
We're going to talk about that.
I was actually quite okay with Levi.
I have no issue with that for a certain reason, because I think it's pretty evident why that was posted. But with Mudryk, and this is where Joey Swole comes in, right? Yeah, Joey Swole made a career out of this and whatnot, but even before then, he was more into his content was all bodybuilding, wasn't it? Like he'd already built that foundation for himself, and then he went into the direction of gym etiquette, and he's raised some really good points as to certain bits of etiquette in the gym that people have kind of let go of, which I think he's managed to help bring back. And him pinpointing what was wrong in that situation by Mudryk, to be honest, is a learning curve. But it needs to be pinpointed. It can't just be swept under the carpet as a nothing. It's a learning curve, and I hope he takes it on board going forward. But that is it's a maturity issue. And at Chelsea, you're playing for Chelsea, as he said, in the Premier League, the highest level. You need to be a certain level here, let alone on the pitch. Even as a footballer and how you carry yourself, you need to have a certain level of professionalism.
This is why I worry about the leadership levels in the squad and who puts the arm around him to say, listen, you need to be a bit better here. If we had real leaders in this squad, or we could point to real experienced players that will kind of set the standard for Chelsea, then I think these type of incidences become less worrying for the fan base, because they know there's somebody in there that's going to bollock.
That's going to smash
the young players.
What would happen if JT was still around?
Yeah, the young players are going to be told very clearly on a Monday morning, yo, don't fuck around. We're at Chelsea, yeah? Don't play with me.
Mikel said that, Matisse. Mikel in his recent podcast said, we couldn't F around. We simply couldn't do that because the big dogs, JT, Lambs, Drogbaba would be coming in and going, hey, don't you be messing around, man. Oh, we've got titles to win here. We've got silverware to win here. You better pattern up. So going back to the Saliba point, fair enough, good point. But it's what you do after. Have you learned from it? Saliba got ripped apart for that video when that happened. But seems like he's hopefully learned from it. But he's still young. We'll see how it goes. I don't think it's a bit too early to say, do you know what he's genuinely learned from? I don't know, Saliba. But this is what I'm trying to say about Mudryk, and I think this is what Younes is trying to say as well, that what do you do from here on? Because you've made a mistake now, let's be honest. I think even Matisse agrees on that. It's immature, it's weird, you've done a mistake. Don't do it again, focus on your football. No one's saying you can't have non-footballing material in your social content. Of course you can. You can go out, have nice dinner, take pictures of your food, upload, you can do all of that. No one's
like Nippers do.
Like Levi Colwill did.
So let's talk about Levi Colwill, because everybody's gone absolutely bananas over it. I was doing my live review when people told me in the comments that the post had gone out. And to be honest, let me make it very clear. I'm going to be very consistent here. And people in the chat, some people will agree, some people will disagree. That's life. I didn't like the post. I have to say. I saw your reaction. I didn't like the post because at a time where we're the only Premier League game going on, this is where immaturity or lack of awareness, young players doing stupid things or not thinking, that type of shit happens, right? And that's something that needs to be ironed out again. But again, there was a photo, I think, earlier of him and Billy, similar type of picture, and you see Chelsea fans under it, cool with him. Can't wait to have you back. Good to see you. You've had a great season, etc. Billy, very nice kid. Let's not get it twisted. We know Billy. We've done plenty of interviews of Billy. Very respectful, good kid. No harm to no one. Do you know what I mean? Thank God he's finally been given an opportunity at Brighton, because we were basically abusing this kid. Do you know what I mean? We weren't giving him no chance. Didn't take him on pre-season. And now we got, now we got players that can't trap a ball ahead of him in the pecking order from the same academy. None of my business. So very good kid. Colwill, I don't know him as well in terms of his personality, because we've not seen him do so much maybe club side of things, and he's been more out on loan. It's again another situation where it needs to be, can't be brushed under the carpet, because it is a stupid moment, and I do not think it's a complete coincidence. Some people are saying it's a coincidence. I'm not so sure on that.
Here's the thing: did he watch the game?
Did he watch the game?
That's the thing. Did he?
Maybe he didn't. Maybe he didn't. Maybe he did. Maybe he didn't.
Let's assume he did.
But is he aware of this?
If he did, he shouldn't have posted.
Is a Premier League player aware of the score in the only Premier League game? I don't know. It's 50-50. We don't know. You can't be sure. But you would assume that they would maybe know, right? You would hope so. It's your parent club playing. You could check your phone quickly, check the score. You can kind of get a grip of it. But he is drinking. It looks like he's celebrating what's been a great season at Brighton. Make no mistake, he has developed an emotional attachment to Brighton. He does like it there. He does like the fans. He does like the playing group. That's not a problem, and that's not a surprise. When you loan out, and I made this analogy on my watch-along, when you loan out players continuously to other clubs for their development, you are taking yourself out of the nurturing, developing period. You are skipping that process with that player, and you're saying that I'm going to give you to someone else to go through that. And they're going to give you that trust, and they're going to give you that development. They're going to improve you. You're giving them a lot of power in that sense, because that's a big moment for a player. Whoever gives them their first Premier League appearance, whoever gives them their development, gives them their chance, whatever manager backs them, you're giving them that weight. So don't be surprised that Levi Colwill really likes what Brighton have done for him this season. Something that we were reluctant to do last summer because we assumed that we needed to sign about 3 centre-backs we must have been chasing at the one time. When everybody who had watched this kid knew that he was a talent and was gonna be something serious. That's our fault, right? We've done it quite a few times. You look at the left-back position with Lewis Hall, and now Ian Maatson coming back. We've got about 4 players that can play in that position, and the 2 best ones right now are the academy ones. So it's not the first time that we've done stupid shit. But like I said, when people try and take it too far and they want to compare it to Lukaku, it just goes to show again that there's this desperate need to try and be over dramatic, and there's this desperate need to be extremists. If you're trying to compare this with Lukaku, you're purposefully trying to be an extremist again.
Yeah.
And for me, it's not double standards, because again, I've just spoken about immaturity. If Lukaku does this at 18, 19, we maybe give him a pass because he's a young kid, not a grown-ass adult in any approach in his 30s or in his 30s. But more importantly, I'm not going to compare a TV interview, which he held and he decided to do on his own accord to go against the club, not sanctioned, right, by the club, to speak on his love for another club, to speak on going back to another club. I'm not even going to get into it. I'm not going to compare that with a fucking photo at full time. Let's be real, people.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's be real. Now, some people in the chat are going to tell me it's double standards. That's your own business. You can do that. You want to be saying it's double standards, go ahead. But I'm not comparing a 19-year-old with a 30-year-old and the 2 actions, because it's not the same thing. So if that's how you feel, then listen. This is where I look at the fan base and I say the likes of Jorginho and Mount leaving in the same year, I think it's a great kind of moment for the fan base to look back and see, how do we treat these players online? How extremist can we be in our opinions? How polarizing, how divisive, overrating, underrating, slandering. You look at players like Felix who want to be here, actually have shown that they have something that they can offer to the team. It might not be brilliant, but have shown something. And look at the crap that he's been given in comparison to players that don't want to be here right now, and all of the BS we see on them. So I think it's quite symbolic that I see Jorginho and Mason Mount leaving at the same time for how divisive it's been online. I think it's quite impressive.
You know what's mad about the Colwill thing as well? I think there has to be some sort of logic applied, right? For those that, you just got to look at the timeline. This is why I don't have much of an issue with the Colwill post, and I am leaning more towards the side of this could just be bad timing, because when you look at Brighton, they played the day before. They didn't play yesterday. They played the day before. What happens on the day after a game? Players have a day off. They don't train. They have a day off. Today, on the Friday, they're training 100%. And they're going to be training on Saturday because they got a game on Sunday, which is the final game of the season. So their only day off is yesterday. And I think that's coinciding with the fact that it looked like him and Billy Gilmore were out on a night or having dinner or whatnot. They looked well dressed. They looked out. They looked like they were having a good time. Mm-hmm. That's where I think that the timing of it, the fact that it was posted immediately after full time, is the question mark. But people genuinely going on, having an issue, the fact that they're out or something, having some sort of fun. Like, no, it's their only day off, and you can tell. Just put 2 and 2 together. They're not going to have it up until Monday. Monday, end of season, done. That's it. So I think that's where some logic has to be applied. I don't have much issue with this post. He was asked, how is he doing? He puts a picture saying, "Yeah, I'm having a great time." Of course, he's having a great time, and he's with Billy. Fair play to him.
See, with me,
you'll also be surprised. Sorry, you'll also be surprised how many players don't actually watch games. I do want to say that because if he's on a night out, if he's on a day off, I think he wants to switch off from football altogether. He's not going to be sitting there just watching football on his only day off, where he can take advantage of that and then go to training and have that for the next 2-3 days, and then a match, and then afterwards, obviously, have the end of season. You'll be surprised how many players don't actually watch other games, and that's how I just want to pinpoint that.
See, I've got no issues with that as well. After full time, everyone was saying to me, "Is Levi Colwill tweet?" I'm like, okay, yeah, he's feeling brilliant. He's with Billy Gilmore. He's out. He's enjoying. Brighton's had a very good season. They're in Europa League. Yeah, he's feeling brilliant. Even if he did watch the match, he's still feeling brilliant because of the season that he's had with Brighton. So what? Whoop-de-doo. I've got a different spin on this. I think there are certain chain of events that has taken place for people to go on the back of Levi Colwill, because there was an interview post-match Man City, which Andy Naylor put out yesterday morning, which covered a lot of stuff about Levi Colwill, and he gets a bit emotional about Brighton by saying, not many people trusted me, and Brighton has in times where I needed people to trust, and I'm the kind of person that likes to repay back trust. And then he further goes on to say in the interview where the interviewer had to stop him and say, you do realize you're still a Chelsea player, and he's like, oops, I forgot. Like for a moment, I didn't remember. I forgot that I was a Chelsea player. So I think all of that stuff that is happened,
what's done it.
All of those events that people sort of kept in their head. Yeah. Then they see this post. It's a chain of event. People put all of these together, and then they get a story.
And on top of the fact that we lost the game in an embarrassing way, people are already angry. Don't get me wrong, the timing is absolutely horrendous. And can I add, I'm not going to sit here and tell you and lie to you that Levi Colwill loves Chelsea. I'm not going to sit here and be like, he loves Chelsea. He loves Chelsea more than Felix, or he loves Chelsea more than this guy. I'm not going to do that shit with you. As much as I rate Levi Colwill and I want him to make it here, Levi Colwill will leave this club.
He's a professional.
He will leave this club. He will leave this club if he does not feel like he's going to get the opportunity that he deserves.
This is what I want to talk about.
Or that he's not going to get the place in the squad that he feel like, in terms of him rating himself, he wants. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and tell you that Levi Colwill is happy to sit on the bench next season. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Levi Colwill is going to only want to play for Chelsea, and if another club offer comes in and Chelsea don't feel like he's a starter, that Levi Colwill won't just pick up his bags and leave. Levi Colwill showed last summer that he is not fucking around with his career. He rates himself very highly. He knows he's going to be one of the best centre-backs in this country. Manchester City would no problem replace Laporte with him for the long term, and the fact that Laporte's injury prone. Liverpool would no problem play him on the left side centre-back in a 3 instead of Robertson. Levi Colwill is going to be a top player, whether people like it or not. So let me tell you, if we are not going to actually give the kid a chance, and by the way, we already messed up last summer in that, because we knew that we were losing Rudiger, we knew that we were losing centre-backs, and we still decided to go and buy, or wanted to buy, 3 centre-backs when he's right there. He's going to take that in a way that is a little bit insulting. So let's not, as fans, because there was many Chelsea fans last season that I had to convince that we needed to keep Levi Colwill. A lot of them were happy to sell. So if you were at one point happy to sell this player because you did not rate him, do not then now start to cry because the player might be actually really enjoying his life at Brighton and actually might potentially want to stay there if the situation makes sense. You can't have it both ways. If you don't trust the player, that trust has to go both ways. You can't just, now that he's good, okay, now he must die for Chelsea, and if he doesn't die for Chelsea, he's a snake. No. That's not going to work. That's not going to work. And that's the be all and end all. Unfortunately, that's just how it is.
And this is exactly what I wanted to touch on. When I saw those interviews, and I've been saying it even prior to that interview, right? I've been saying all of this talk about, Levi Colwill, Poch wants to make sure he's our main man and this and that should be, he'll get his promised minutes, whatnot. If I'm Levi Colwill, and boys, honestly, I want to hear your thoughts as well. You put yourself in Levi Colwill's position. If I'm Levi Colwill, apparently there is a contract extension in offer. He is not signed yet. If I'm Levi Colwill and I'm looking at the mess that Chelsea's in, from ownership to management to backroom stuff to players leaving to players doing all sorts of crazy stuff, and then you see all of these other shenanigans in terms of contract extensions with other players and this, you think these players don't talk to each other. If I'm Levi Colwill and I'm looking into that, and I'm having a time of my life in Brighton where Roberto De Zerbi on a weekly basis coming out publicly and saying, I would like to have Levi Colwill for another 2 to 3 years, right? I would be concerned as well for my well-being for the future because I need assurance. As Matisse said, Levi Colwill, and I've made this very clear, he is going to be a standout defender. Already you can see the glimpses of it. Lots of people talking highly about him. Rio Ferdinand recently said, this guy is the real deal, right? Us three here, and at Live Chat, we don't go around willy-nilly talking about every Cobham graduate out there. We're not that type of people. But when we see one clear-cut, like your Reece James, similarly with Levi Colwill, this guy has a big future. So now it's up on us, Chelsea, as an institution. Have we been calling up Brighton on a regular basis, keeping a tab on this player and congratulating on his good performances? Have we been doing that? Because it sounds like Levi Colwill has not had any sort of compassion from Chelsea as yet. It sounds like he doesn't have any connection with Chelsea. Why? Yeah. Who's not calling him? Who's not picking up the phone? If I was part of the board, I'd be picking up the phone after every Brighton game. Become, Levi, you're killing it, man. Next season, you are going to be our main guy, one of the main guys. Because if I did that to Levi, you best believe Levi Colwill with that Andy Naylor interview, he'd be saying no comments. No one's doing that. No one's showing the love. So to come back to full circle to Matisse's point, he got no obligation to stay at Chelsea Football Club. I know some of you guys might hate this. Oh, but Miz, he's an academy player. We've given him the opportunity. No obligations, brother. No obligations.
Especially after the season he's had at Brighton. Like, if you had to choose right now with the direction that Chelsea, the uncertainty that Chelsea have, right, or you're with a team like Brighton that's hit their highest ever level, they've made Europa League football. He's stable, he's playing, great manager, good structure, great team. They're looking like they're going to keep a lot of their lads, maybe bar McAllister. You'd think, from Levi Colwill's perspective, if he was to manage to nail a stay there and keep up this trajectory, not only are we talking Man City, we could be talking other teams, even abroad, like thinking, I might go in for this guy. Or do you risk coming to Chelsea? And it might work. It might, but it very well may not either. We might end up in I wouldn't say a similar situation to this season, next season, but we might not end up near the top 6 or whatever, next season. We don't know where we're going right now. It's very uncertain. As a professional, he's got to pay that into perspective. He's got to make sure he kind of has an idea of where things are heading. It's not just about playing time, because when you look at, playing every single week, right? Chalobah, for example, or anyone there, they're playing every single week, not a problem. But the levels are the levels. We're losing games. They're unhappy. It's a complete mess. Does Levi Colwill want to come into that or keep up what he's keeping up at Brighton? That's a choice for him to make, but it's a risk. It's a risk. So right now, I wouldn't blame him. If he just went, no, you know what, I'm going to stay at Brighton. If there's a way for me to stay at Brighton, I'll stay. I wouldn't blame him. I wouldn't blame him. But if he comes to Chelsea, for us, I think that's great. And hopefully we'd be able to use him going forward, because I do think we need a Levi Colwill.
And this is the thing, Younes. I want Levi Colwill back at Chelsea Football Club.
Yeah,
I don't think we're in a position where we can, start throwing our weight around. We're going to be 13th, 14th. Like, let's calm ourselves down. All right, let's bring our level down. Let's try and convince and put out a blueprint for a player like Levi Colwill, who is going to be a very, very good player, and give him that plan. Because Levi Colwill was probably looking at Carney Chukwuemeka's season and thinking, well, that could be me next season.
This is what I want to put it to is our treatment of some of the young players. Like, you look at how long we had to basically beg to see Madueke get a kick because Hakim Ziyech is coming on instead of him. Carney not allowed to go to the under 20s of the World Cup, barely got any minutes this season, and now finally he gets some minutes and he's showing signs. Same with Lewis Hall. Not to mention that we signed Koulibaly for the left side centre-back position, Badia Shile, 2 centre-backs that play at left side centre-back in 2 windows after wanting Nathan Ake and Vardiel for 100 million. You think Levi Colwill doesn't see all of that? Then you must think he's blind. Now, for me, there's a big difference between giving somebody nothing but love from the get-go. Number 9, 100 million, 325k a week. You are our main man. People are chanting your name at the Emirates from the early season. You compare that to a player that was left out of pre-season last summer and doubted by the manager. Unfortunately, another reason why, in the end, Tuchel's recruitment was looking a bit sketchy. And signed 2 left side centre backs above him, plus don't play young players in a season that's already dead. And you're playing players that were this close to going to PSG on the final day of the transfer window ahead of them. And we're meant to be surprised that a young player is potentially questioning whether or not they should stay. Listen, I think it makes a lot of sense, whether people like it or not. That is quite logical to question. If you was a young player right now and you had that ability and you looked at the way Chelsea had operated this season, if you weren't questioning your future, it's probably because either you don't think you're good enough to actually make it elsewhere, or you just your head's gone. Like, you're not really thinking. People, the really good players know what they're worth. And the players that are maybe just really happy to be here, probably because they know that this is as good as it gets. And yeah, they might love the club, but this is as good as it gets. There's you can see who's linked with the players that know exactly what they're worth. They tend to be linked with the best clubs in the world because they know that they're going to make it at the top, and as long as they stay away from injuries. So yeah, listen, it's one of those situations where for me the timing of it is horrendous, and I think part of me thinks that it is a coincidence, but it's also not. So it's a dodgy one. But I do think that in the summer, I don't even think we need to convince. I think we just need to. Badia Shile is out for 4 months. We just need to sell Koulibaly and give him opportunities under Poch. I think what needs to be the case in the summer is just a complete almost Will Smith. You know, you just press the button and just pretend that it didn't happen. Honestly, as long as enough players are gone by June, I would just love to pretend that this didn't happen this season and go into pre-season with just a fresh mindset, with a good group of players that want to be here, that are also good enough, good technical level, and let Poch coach them, and we go into next season. If I can pretend that this season didn't happen, that would be fantastic. That would be really, really good. So yeah, but like I said, it's tough for me to think that that's a complete coincidence.
This is why we need Poch through the door ASAP, man. And obviously the season's coming to an end on Sunday. On Monday, I want the announcement. Because you know, once he's officially through the door, you have players like Levi Colwill that can have those conversations where Poch can start working maybe a bit of his magic, can bring some sort of a fresh air, you know, a breath of new life, you know, into the situation, and start convincing players that there's a plan. I've come with a plan. Don't worry, trust me. Yeah, let's be on the same page. That needs to be had from the get-go, and that needs to be done ASAP. I think before the players go on holiday, because once they go on holiday, they can have a peace of mind that when I come back, I know what I'm coming back to. You know, and they can start hitting the ground running properly from day one. So Poch, the stability from the get-go comes with the announcement of Poch. That needs to be done on Monday morning after the season is done. It probably won't come Monday. I'll give it Tuesday, Wednesday then. But, you know, like next week, it needs to happen. It needs to happen.
But you know what, Younes? Obviously, we need the announcement to happen as quickly as possible after the match is over on Sunday. I'd be very surprised if Poch isn't already talking about all of these matters. Like, I hope he's already talking to the board, to whoever, and setting out plans, setting out a blueprint for next season, because if Poch is not having these conversations already and he's just waiting for 1st of July or whatever the case is, my man, you're not going to get enough time. This is a mad mess.
Yeah.
It's a
But this is why sacking 3 managers in one season is detrimental, not just to the performance of the team, but the future planning and convincing of players that we are going to be going in the right direction. Yeah. You look at all of the players that we've signed in terms of Mudryk, Madueke, Carney, Sterling, and you think to yourself, they've all had really tough starts. So when you're trying to convince the next batch of players that should sign under this manager, which could easily be sacked in 6 months by our average, by our averages under this ownership, it's very difficult for anyone with a brain cell to be like, you sure about that? You sure like Poch is definitely going to be here for a couple of years, so my development plan is sticking to the same? You sure that's going to happen? You sure that I'm going to play? Because you said that Carney was going to play. You paid 20 million for him and then you didn't use him at all and you didn't let him go to the World Cup. Are you sure that I'm going to do well here? Because I can point to about 3 or 4 clubs around here that look a lot more stable than you. So what are we doing here? These are normal questions. These are normal conversations that really happen. It's not just, oh, it's Chelsea and the badge and, oh, my God, it's the dream and he has to want to play for us because, you know, we're the best and we're Chelsea. And that's just not how life works. Because that's exactly how Liverpool speak and that's exactly how Arsenal speak and that's exactly how Man United speak. They all speak the same. We're Man United, we're Liverpool, we're this, we're that. At the end of the day, it's whoever's got the best plan, whoever looks like they're actually going to be a serious institution for the next 10 years. Because ain't nobody trying to finish in 10th every single season. Nobody trying to see that.
If you're in Levi Colwill's shoe, Matisse, just for a second, imagine you're Levi Colwill. As if you're not asking these questions. As if you're not talking about these things with your mates. Like, these guys have WhatsApp groups, this, that, the other, as if you're not already talking about it. So these are legitimate conversations. Like, we think, oh, no, it's a given. It's a given. He's our player. We've got 2 more years in his contract. Now he comes back. He can very well just turn around and say, I don't want to come back.
Kip says here, you expected a top 4 contending team to plug Levi Colwill in at centre-back with no Prem experience. I can name quite a few players that we've done that with and they've turned out all right. You can go to Tomori, who now plays for AC Milan. You can go to Mason Mount, who's going to be potentially moving to Manchester United, Arsenal or Liverpool. Tammy Abraham, who plays for Roma. It hasn't worked out too bad. What has worked out quite bad is some players signing for 40 million, 50 million on 300k a week and not even performing to the level of probably an academy graduate. So it can go both ways, brother. It can go both ways. I think a lot of people underestimate or underrate the Championship. It's a very, very good league. Yeah. And depending on what you see them do in the Championship is as to whether you're ready to give them that chance. If they only have a decent to average Championship season, then of course they're not ready. But if they absolutely blitz the Championship, then there's a risk and reward factor. What's the worst that happens? They don't play great, and then maybe you have them on the bench after a few games. You say, listen, you're not quite ready. We're going to coach and develop you. There's a lot of young players that didn't even get a Championship loan, like Saka, Foden. They didn't even get a Championship loan. They just went straight from youth teams straight to Premier League football. So what's your excuse for them? So why didn't they get a Premier League loan? Not everybody's development path needs to be the same. It's not, I get a Championship loan, then I get a Premier League loan, then I go to the first team. That's not how it works for everyone, because not everybody's the same talent. So the quicker people deep that, the better. It's not the same situation. Let's see what else is being said. From Cobham, he obviously didn't hear us talking about Gallagher earlier on in the show. And again, like I keep saying to you, comparing with Lukaku, it's just a crazy comparison. I can't be bothered to entertain today. Go on. What was you gonna say, Younes?
No, I was just saying Gallagher got grilled. This comment.
Yeah, it's just like imagine sitting here thinking that we have Cobham bias. You're just not listening. Imagine thinking that we have Cobham bias.
Have you heard us on Mount in the past?
I was just gonna say,
nah, man, come on.
On Twitter, I've been getting
again,
hammered with the Mount situation, and then today, for the first time, I said something pro Levi Colwill, and I've been called Cobham sexual. I'm like, that's a tag I've never had. I'm proud about that.
Levi Colwill versus Saliba. Are you guys aware Mikel Arteta loaned out Saliba for 2 years? Who is Colwill compared to Saliba? Again, did he loan out Saka? No. Put Saka straight in the first team at 17. Saka's been in the first team the whole time. Again, stop comparing different players. Everybody's got a different path. That's just the reality of it. Exactly. It's not Arteta did this, so now everybody must do that. It's just not how it works. And you'll say who is Colwill compared to Saliba, because obviously Saliba's been given a chance at Arsenal now, but I'll probably pretty much willing to bet that Colwill will perform to a similar level to Saliba next year. And that performance at the Emirates, right in front of your eyes, should probably tell you that if you watch that game, if you're an Arsenal fan. So yeah, didn't loan out Martinelli either. Crazy. So I thought everybody had to go on a Premier League loan. What's going on here? Well, Martinelli didn't go out on loan. He only came from the Brazilian league for 6 million. The Brazilian second division. But we can't. Again, we say Andre Santos, he must go out on loan. Are we watching some of our players? Like these guys, like Carney, they don't have to go out on loan. What they need is a manager that has everything together. They need some seniors around them, some pros, some starters, but some opportunities as well. These players could actually play for us. They actually could.
Did Foden go on a loan, Matisse? Did Foden go on a loan?
It's mad, bro.
I'm pretty sure Foden didn't go on a loan.
Go and look at Enciso. Go and look at Enciso, where he came from, what club he came from in Paraguay, and then the way he's playing this season, smashing in top corner shots against Manchester City. Not everybody's development path is the same.
You didn't have a loan.
Exactly. There are certain players that need to go on loan to get more game time and develop.
It's dependent. It's dependent.
Yeah, it's not the one set of rule for everyone. Like, that's not how it works, man. So
Martinelli came from the 4th division, by the way.
Wow.
Martinelli came from the 4th. He came from the 4th division. That is some incredible scouting by that's some incredible scouting by
unbelievable scouting
by Arsenal. I don't know if these people are trolls or these people just they just don't understand what's been going on this season. But it's a tough one. Webster and Dunk started this season because obviously Brighton were a very good performing team last year. Started very well. So Colwill had to wait for his chance. And now Lewis Dunk is the captain, so he's obviously going to start.
The captain.
And now Colwill starts next to him. And the only reason why he hasn't started more games because he was injured halfway through the season. I really wish people would think a little bit before they say things like this, but it is what it is. It's a long day for everybody. Maybe just anger is boiling over from yesterday's performance. It's not letting people think straight. But it's a rough day. It's a rough day indeed. Before we come to a close, guys, I mean, talk to me about Sunday. What are we doing here?
We have to.
We have to what?
It's another L we're picking up, that's for sure.
Another L, yeah.
Now, what is going to be the margin of the L is what we can talk about.
Gallagher went on loan, by the way, to Premier League two Premier League teams. Is he ready now?
Yeah.
Is he ready?
Yeah.
He's 23 and he went out. Gallagher went on a championship loan to Premier League.
Yep.
Two. I think it was one championship loan to Charlton, 2 Premier League loans, 1 to West Brom, 1 to Palace. So he should be ready now.
Spot on. Yeah.
Should be ready. According to the logic. Also, I forgot about these super chats. Let's go through these. Opinions on Alex and Mrs. Twitter beef. Oh, God.
Sometimes I just like to have a bit of fun. Do you know what I mean? You know, get the person to really think about what they're writing, you know? Put the question back on them. It's interesting to see how quickly then people start buckling a little bit. So it was interesting. I don't know if you guys saw the tweet. The tweet, by the way, just to give context.
What was the tweet?
It was Olivia Bazzaglow's tweet of whichever team ends up getting Rice and Mount, we're all in trouble. And then I said underneath that I'm pretty certain England has Mount and Rice. I don't think the rest of the world are quite concerned about this. And definitely Man City won't be bothered. And then Alex came under my reply saying, Ten Hag is 10 times the manager of Gareth Southgate, which then I said, of course he is. So does that mean Man United are title contenders next season? Is that what you're saying? If they get Mount and Rice, they will push Man City to their last breath. And then Alex said, no, they won't. So then I replied saying, well, then what are we arguing about? That's exactly what I just said, didn't I? So
I mean, when it comes to Mount and Rice, I mean, if you would have told me that they would be playing for Manchester United or Arsenal or Liverpool, I would have spat out my non-existent tea. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I would have been like, wow, what a FIFA career mode move that is.
Yeah.
But listen,
I don't think they'll play together anyway. I think this is a non-issue.
Probably not. I mean,
non-issue.
It is what it is. I'm not going to lie to you. I just want the saga over. If he's staying, he's staying. If he's going, he's going. At this point, I'm so tired of the whole Mason Mount situation. If he goes, I think Carney has shown in moments that he could be an option as a depth piece next season. We're obviously going to sign midfielders. I'm keeping it moving. Big up man from Australia. I thought as a Man United fan, Chelsea were the better team in the first half, but second half you lost momentum. I mean, second half we were just awful, bro.
Momentum? We
were just awful. We just drove off a cliff. Reece needs to move to DM, easier on his body, and will have most influence on the game. I don't know. I think for me with Reece,
he's injured again, right? He's injured again.
I just need
surgery.
I thought he needed surgery. Then it was reported that he doesn't need surgery. I don't know what's going on with Reece. I'm not going to lie to you.
We're not even doctors, and we can see he needs surgery.
It feels like he might.
Before we can even think about what position best suits and what he needs to do for his future, can he stay fit? I think that's the first question next season.
Luckily, we have a manager in Pochettino who's very, very, very fitness based. So hopefully, this can be a turnaround. Like, we need it to be a turnaround because this is getting a bit mad. His career is going to be defined by injuries at this point. But we
need Reece James to play a lot more games for us because he will win games for us defensively and offensively.
Yeah.
So it's very important. It's very important.
Yeah. Respect to you guys for continuing to make content. I physically, mentally, emotionally checked out a long time ago. Fans deserve season award.
Player of the season, the fans. I agree.
Colwill is a Liverpool fan as well. Yeah, I mean, listen, he's a Liverpool fan. Kane is an Arsenal fan. You know, this is not new. This is not new. Footballers support teams.
By the way, quick one. Shout out Harry Kane. I have to because he's got 28 Premier League goals this season.
Yeah.
And no one talking about it because Haaland's got 36. 28 in that Spurs team is outrageous. Just I had to say it.
It's mad. It's mad. Yeah.
How have we not held 7 up this year is amazing. I have no idea. I mean, the 4-1 was a battering that we did deserve. We did deserve a battering this season, so I don't feel sorry for us at all.
Could have been more.
Yeah. And Cassidy is the next Declan Rice as well, according to this comic. There's a video saying that is the case, that he's the next Declan Rice. Listen, I haven't been watching Reading at all. Seems like for the Italian team, he might be doing okay as well. Again, pre-season, let's see how he does. He's got a lot of let's see. When it comes down to him, what am I trying to say? I'm trying to think. He's got time on his side. And my danger and my worry is that last summer, a lot of the young players that we signed are just going to get stockpiled on top of, and we're not going to actually get to see them even given an opportunity. But with Poch coming in, he does place a lot of value on young players. There is meant to be a clear out. I think you can actually afford at this point to just get rid of Loftus-Cheek, who's going, it seems, Gallagher and Mason Mount. Just if that's what's going to happen, make the money. It's going to be 100 million plus in money for FFP, which we need for the books. And we've just signed quite a few young players. Like if Andre Santos gets a work permanent, you know, there's quite a few young midfielders that we've got. Plus, we're going to sign some. I'm willing to rock with it. I'm not going to lie. I'm willing to rock with it. Lewis Hall has had a really good end to the season as well. So I think he deserves an opportunity in pre-season as well. So there are Cobham players that do want to be here. There are Cobham players that will be here, and it's not all doom and gloom for Cobham. But at the same time, you know, we can't keep them all. And if they don't want to be here, then so be it. It's not a problem. We can keep it moving. There's money to be made. Let's see. All right, cool. We're gonna wrap it up there, people. I don't know what's going on with Ugarte. He's meant to be going to PSG, but it's not done. So I guess we're gonna put in a bid as well that might equal that. But listen, we'll talk about that another time when it's a little bit more closer to the serious situation. Younes, let the people know where to find you, bro. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, no, it's been quality, man. And yeah, we look forward to Sunday. There will be a video later today. I'll see what that's going to be about. Tomorrow will be the final preview, and then goodness, Chelsea Newcastle on Sunday, and yeah, probably another L, and we end the season and start looking forward. So, Younes Talks Football. That's where you'll find that. As Matisse is brushing up on the thumbnail.
Is Matisse with us?
Has he clocked out?
He's clocked out, bro. He thought he's finished. He thought he finished off the live stream, and now he's just doing his. Now he's just doing the DR stuff. Multitasking. Yeah, I'll do a live probably in about another half an hour's time. So if you guys are keen to come to the other side of the coin, check that out. Yeah, on a regular basis, hopefully to content from here on in, things will spice up. We will start hearing, but players need to go soon. They need to go. I'm sorry. 30th of June is the cutoff time. Soon players need to go to balance out the book. So it's going to get really, really spicy in the upcoming days. I couldn't care less about the Newcastle game. It's probably going to be an L. Don't expect a preview from me. I haven't been doing previews for the past few months. So, but I will definitely be there for the watch along, and we'll see if I'm in the mood for a review. I may not even be.
Just to hype up as well, I think for all of us, this transfer window is going to be mega. Huge. So the content is going to be outrageous from everybody. Yeah. So make sure this summer, from June 1st, you guys are glued in, because there's going to be a lot. Not just Chelsea, everywhere else. It's going to be crazy.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Well, guys, I am just cutting in and out. Don't know why my wires are crossed. So listen, we're going to wrap it up. But until next time, in a bit, people. Peace.
As manager of Chelsea Football Club, I've called this press conference to announce that we want you, the fans at home